And we're gonna, from our back here, just pull the knees into a bent position if they're not already. Extend both arms towards the ceiling or sky, palms facing towards one another, and splay out the fingers nice and wide. Feel how the humeral head kind of can integrate into the shoulder socket and feel some width across the scapula shelf. So really pull into that space. Now keep that strength across the upper shoulder girdle as you exhale and extend the arms overhead towards the space behind you. Thumbs coming down maybe to touch the floor or mat. And then we'll inhale the arms back up towards the ceiling or sky. Let's just work this a couple more times. This is not just arm movement though, right? Really think about the width across the shoulder girdle. Think about how you're syncing your movement with your respiration. Maybe one more time in each direction. No rush to get to completion, just exploring this shoulder movement. And then when you're complete, let the arms fall out to cactus for just a moment. And try to pay attention to the distance between the outer edge of the elbow to outer edge of the elbow. And then think about neutralizing that back side of your elbow, the shoulder capsule across the scapula, so that you're as flat and neutral as you can be from elbow to elbow. See if there's the possibility of pushing the elbows maybe a millimeter out away from one another. And just note how that impacts the musculature around the cervical spine. And then let's lift the feet off the mat so that the knees are bent at 90 degrees, bottoms of the feet pointing away from us. And we're just gonna breathe here. So paying attention to how the lumbar wants to arch, almost certainly wants to arch. Because we put so much tension across the posterior chain with this elbow awareness, it's very likely that the lumbar wants to arch away from the mat. Bring enough core engagement across the upper abdominal band so that you can sit with a neutral lumbar spine. And then think about pushing your sacrum towards the bottom of your mat here. Elbows are energizing out wide, fingers splayed out wide, maybe the toes splay out wide, sacrum pushes away from you as that lumbar spine sits neutrally against the mat. And then we'll release our feet back down to the mat. And pull your right thigh in towards the torso. Let the hands clasp either on the hamstring or the shin. Think about that same shoulder width. It's super easy for the clavicle to kind of collapse in, to round the shoulders into a little anterior collapse. Think about width across the shoulder girdle, and then extend your left leg down the mat. Determine whether it feels more ideal for you to have the heel resting on the mat or you want the heel to hover. The heel's hovering, make sure the hamstring and calf are hovering as well. I guess you'd have to be very, very angularly inclined if you were able to get your heel off the mat but keep the calf grounded. So I'll be impressed if you can do that. And then we'll release the right leg and let it mirror the left. And then we'll bend both knees. Feet come down to the mat. Let's pull the left thigh in towards the torso. Hands clasp here on the shins or the hamstring, whatever feels most ideal for you. Think about that width across the shoulder girdle so that those outer edges of the humeral heads are really rolling out, giving this anterior expansion across that pec minor tissue. And then with that width in mind, let's extend the right leg. Right heel can rest on the mat, or we can let that leg hover, just depending on what feels right for you this evening. And then when it feels balanced, we'll release the left leg and let it mirror the right. Arms can come back out towards cactus. Good full respiration here. And let's extend both arms back towards the ceiling, palms facing towards one another once again, the fingers splayed out wide. And we're going to exhale and extend the arms overhead so they reach towards the space behind us. Thumbs can come down to the mat or they can hover. And then keep the arms extended there, and let's bend the knees and let the bottoms of the feet point towards the space in front of us or towards the bottom of the mat. 90-degree bend at the knees once again. And now think about here, rolling the scapula out so that the inner edge of the scapula is more or less taking the burden of the weight, and then those outer edges of the scapula, those lateral edges of the scapula, are more or less floating. And we're trying to pull that musculature on the medial edge, the inner edge of the scapula, towards the spinal column, towards the lateral edge of our body. Let's just hold this for another 15 seconds here. Think about the positioning of the lumbar, maintain that neutrality. A lot of upper back musculature involved here. Lower back wants to shorten or wants to cheat because of that. When it feels appropriate, we'll release the legs down to the mat, let the arms come to cactus. Let's just take a couple of rounds of breath, just letting all of that upper back musculature relax into this space we've created. We'll give ourselves 30 more seconds here. When it feels appropriate, let's let the knees bend. If they're not already, we'll let the knees fall to one side or the other, whatever side feels most ideal, and we'll press ourselves up into hands and knees, tabletop. Finding a tabletop where you can get the fingers splayed out nice and wide, and bring your awareness to the lumbar spine and think about how you can engage the abdominal so that we can lock in this lumbar space. And then let's just cat-cow with just the upper back. So core is going to stay locked in, engage the abdominal musculature. Exhale out, round the upper back, tuck the chin. Inhale, lift the chin, soften the shoulder girdle. Belly's not dropping though. We're just taking a little width across the shoulder girdle as the head goes forward. Exhale, upper back rounds, core stays engaged, chin tucks. Inhale, shoulder girdle softens, chin lifts. Come back to neutral, curl your toes, lift your seat and roll your way back into down dog. Get that nice elevation of the sacrum here. About taking a couple of exhales and using those exhales to release that upper back musculature. And as that upper back musculature releases, see if the tailbone can get a little bit further away from your hands. And then let's come down to hands and knees. Tabletop, we'll flip the tops of the feet and sink our way into child's pose. So we're in this little Wild West town. Not unlike Tombstone. Or what we think of as Tombstone today. Every little area was pretty much the same at this point. Cottonwood, Bisbee. They all had kind of the same vibe. And in this little town, like many of these Wild West towns, there were troublemakers. And on this particular morning, this particular troublemaker was trying his hand at alloy metals. When it feels appropriate, as it feels appropriate, let's pull ourselves forward into tabletop. We'll curl our toes, lift our seat, and roll our way back into down dog. Get as much depth as is possible for you here, and then we'll walk our way forward into fold. The top of your mat, we'll inhale into half lift, get that good long spine. And then exhale back into fold. As you get into the bottom of the fold, think about letting the upper back relax. Think about as the upper back relaxes, as the shoulder girdle relaxes, how that can help the entirety of the posterior chain lengthen. And then let's drift our awareness to our sacrum, and we'll roll ourselves up vertebrae by vertebrae. Eventually finding our way to mountain. And in mountain, letting the hands slide behind you. Now, if the hands don't easily interlace, just find the sides of the pants. If we can interlace the fingers, let's interlace the fingers. And then press the thumbs down, trying to take advantage of our shoulder girdle space, trying to take advantage of that anterior shoulder girdle space. Lay the toes out wide. Make sure the feet are roughly 2 fist distance. And then squeeze the scapula back. The thumbs are engaged down, scapula is engaged back. And then we're going to turn our gaze over towards the left. Relax our head back to neutral. And we'll turn our gaze over to the right. Relax our head back to neutral. Draw an awareness line at the belt line, and we're going to hip hinge forward into a half fold. So we're gazing straight down at the floor. Spine should be long. Knees can bend as much as is comfortable. And then we'll rise back up into mountain. Sweep the arms up and overhead. And try to feel the available shoulder space here. And then drop your hands to heart center. Lay the fingers out as wide as you can get them. Press the palms together. Feel that finger mound engagement. Have like 10% pressure at the fingertips and finger mounds. And we'll slide our left foot straight back into lunge. And then lift the elbows up to shoulder-ish height. Fingers stay out wide. Push back into that left heel. Keep that left quad flexed. And then drop the elbows and we'll step to the front of the mat and just breathe a little space. Finger engagement, fingers splayed out wide. We have that pressure, palms together, 10%-ish. And then slide your right foot back. Find your lunge. Think about the verticality of the torso. Think about all the traditional positions. But then we'll take the elbows up to roughly shoulder height. And we'll drop the elbows and step to the front of the mat. Sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale through forward fold. Let your head drop here. Let the lumbar expand here. Let your shoulders release here. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. We'll plant our hands and walk our way back into down dog. And then we'll come down to hands and knees. Tabletop, flip the tops of the feet. Once again, sink our way back into child's pose. So this little town troublemaker wasn't playing with alloy metals because he wanted to find a new lightweight, load-bearing combination. He was trying to find a way to dilute silver so that he could scam local merchants, local bankers. Relatively consistent with alloy metals, you need to have a heat source, and so he had built a little fire. He had some little glass kind of bottles set up, and he was just trying to get them as hot as possible as he had this little bit of silver. And some lead. Kind of just rattling around in these bottles. Give ourselves just 30 more seconds here. When it feels appropriate, hands slide out in front of us if they're not already. Let's pull our way forward to hands and knees, tabletop. Bring your right knee to the middle of the mat, right hand to the middle of the mat so that we have a nice alignment between the heel of the hand and the middle of the knee. Send the left foot straight back, flex that left quad, and we're just gonna roll open into a little modified side plank. The weight bearing here is more or less still in the leg, right? So that front hand is not really holding a lot of weight, but it is providing some stability. Think about the pinky edge of that hand in particular, and then really reach that left hand up and try to get some space across the shoulder girdle. And then see if it's possible for you to drop the left hand behind you, palm away from you, so back of the hand to the small of the back, and then turn the gaze up towards the ceiling or sky. That requires a little bit more balance, right? As we change the visual acuity. But stay with that width across the shoulder girdle. And then we'll unwind. Left hand reaches up, left hand comes down, right hand back to its side of the mat, right knee back to its side of the mat. We reestablish tabletop. Maybe you sway the hips a little bit here to get back into alignment. We'll curl our toes, lift our seat, and find down dog. Drive the sacrum back here. And then we'll come down to hands and knees tabletop. We'll take this to the second side. So left hand to the middle of that mat, left knee to the middle of the mat, right foot slides back, right heel grounds. Right hand reaches towards the ceiling into this little modified side plank. Goal here is just to find the stability and then think about the width across the shoulders. And then we'll drop that right hand palm away from us and turn the gaze up towards the ceiling or sky. When you feel balanced, right hand unwinds, right hand comes to the mat. All the pieces back to their side of the mat for a traditional hands and knees tabletop. Maybe a little tailbone sway, curl our toes, lift our seat, and find down dog. And let's walk our way to the front of the mat. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Take your right hand across your left toe mount. Take your left hand to your left hip. And let's take a little twist here. As you twist, shoulder girdle stays wide, but also take the crown of the head and reach it towards the front of the room. Try to get some lumbar expansion as you push the crown of the head away from the sacrum. And then we'll relax back to neutral. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Left hand across your right toe mound, right hand to your right hip. And let's take our nice little twist. And when it feels appropriate, when you feel balanced, we'll come back to neutral. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Drift your awareness to your sacrum. We'll roll or sweep our way into mountain. Dropping the hands together, heart center. Relaxing into your mountain, but maintaining enough stability that we're locked in. Let's slide our left foot straight back into lunge. And drop the hands so that they're in line with your left leg angle. And then think about how the sternum is positioned here. Super easy for the lumbar to start to bow forward. Stay locked in the core and start to tilt your torso forward. Think about that right glute and keeping the legs in line here. Left quad is active and engaged. Now sweep your arms forward and then rise up and into traditional lunge. Crescent lunge. Drive that hip strength into the shape so that we get that front leg depth. And then we'll just drop the hands to heart center and step to the front of the mat. See if you can feel the hips integrate here. And when it feels appropriate, we're headed to the second side. So right foot's gonna slide straight back. We find our lunge position, and then we drop the arms so that they're roughly at the same angle as the right leg, that right thigh. We'll start to tilt our way forward. Get that strength. Sweep the arms out in front of us. Follow that up into crescent lunge. Relax into the hip depth. And then we'll drop the hands to heart center and step to the front of the mat, sweeping the arms up and overhead. Exhale through forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Bend the knees so that the knees come to like roughly a 90-degree bend, and let the torso rest on the thighs for a moment. And then keep the hands pointed straight down towards the floor, but lift your torso so that there's space between your thighs and your torso. And think about pushing the sacrum back. So it's hip, anterior hip crease that we're really trying to expand. And then release back into a forward fold. So legs get straight once again, or straight in once again, not necessarily straight. And then we'll inhale into half lift. And exhale back into fold. See if you can feel the hamstrings release into that fold. Let your hands, we're gonna walk our way back into down dog. Wiggle the hips a little bit in down dog this time. See if you can find that extra bit of depth. Use that anterior hip crease. To do that, we need to lift the hips higher. It's counterintuitive, but hips higher, sacrum goes back further. And then we'll come down to hands and knees, tabletop, flip the tops of the feet, and sink our way into child's pose. Landing in this child's pose. Relaxing into that anterior hip crease space. And just smoothing out your breath. This little town vagrant, as he was known. He'd gotten a little distracted. The fire he had created got a little bit larger than it should have. And it started to creep up the wall of the building in the alley that he was behind. The building he was behind in the alley. Appropriately centered, structured sentence. And seeing that this happened, he looked at it. He looked around. He didn't see anyone. He tried to grab his bottle, but it was scorching hot. He decided to leave it, and he just ran out the alleyway. Last 20 seconds here. When it feels appropriate, put the fingers grip into the mat in front of us. We'll pull our way forward to hands and knees, tabletop. We'll send the left leg straight back and behind us, so the left toe mound connects with the mat. And then keeping the right knee bent, using that left toe mound, just roll back into this little modified down dog, so that we have a bent right knee, a good extended left leg. And we want to be light on this right leg because we're going to step that right foot forward. That's a big hip challenge, so it may take a little bit of work to get it in between the hands, but try to get it up into your traditional width of or depth of the step. And then we'll sweep our way up into crescent. And again, we're just going to smooth into the depths of crescent. So just trying to use this anterior sheath on the left side and trying to smooth our way into the strength of the right quad. Push back into that left heel by flexing into the left quad. and then drop your hands down to the mat. We'll step the right foot back into down dog. So you're in a traditional down dog here. And then we'll come down to hands and knees, tabletop, flip the tops of the feet, sink back into child's pose. Inhale, pull your way forward to tabletop. And from tabletop, we'll take this to the second side. So right foot extends straight back. You get that right toe mound active and you think about building the strength on that right side. And then you lift up into this modified version of down dog. Down dog where the burden of the weight is on the right leg. The left leg is light. When you're ready, we'll step that left leg forward into lunge. Make sure you get that up between the hands. You feel that width between the back heel and the back toe mound, front heel and the back toe mound. And we'll sweep our way up into crescent. And again, this is an exploration of crescent. Depth in crescent, depth in crescent, depth in crescent, trying to activate the hips. Use that right sheath of musculature on the right side, flex that right quad, push back into the right heel, and smooth down into the strength of that left quad. When it feels appropriate for you, we'll release the hands down to the mat, step the left foot back in a down dog. Get that traditional down dog depth. Come down to hands and knees, tabletop, flip the tops of the feet, sink our way back into child's pose. We'll inhale, pull ourselves forward to hands and knees, tabletop, curl our toes, lift our seat, and find down dog. And from down dog, let's walk our way forward to the front of the mat. Inhaling into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Drift your awareness to your sacrum and let's roll ourselves up vertebrae by vertebrae. Bring our hands together, heart center. When it feels appropriate, as it feels appropriate, let's slide our left foot straight back into lunge. Round our left heel and just roll into a warrior two. Now, we have not been in any of these warrior shapes at all. We've not really played with this medial expansion, but we have worked hip space. Think about dropping the sacrum straight down into the full depth of this shape, and then bend your right elbow, right forearm to right thigh, and extend your left arm straight out. And then see if it's possible to release that right hand down for a little side angle. Think about the length here in the spine out through the crown of the head. Draw yourself back up into warrior two. Left heel spins up, we're into crescent. Drop the hands and step to the front of the mat. Find your balance and your breath and mountain. When it feels appropriate, right foot slides straight back. Right heel grounds, we roll to two. Just within the shape, sacrum drops straight down. The tibia and fibia stay vertical on that front leg. Left elbow bends, left forearm to the left thigh, right hand reaches straight out. Extension of your lateral side angle. If it's possible for you, the left hand comes down for a little bit deeper expression of side angle. Only if this makes sense, right? Only if this feels right, if this feels expansive. We'll draw back into two. Spin the right heel up into crescent. Drop the hands and we'll step to the front of the mat. Loop the arms up and overhead. Exhale through forward fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Plant your hands. We'll walk our way back into down dog. Come down to hands and knees, tabletop. Flip the tops of the feet and sink our way back into child's pose. And so as this man who started this fire runs out of this alleyway, these two men are walking by and they see this guy bolt out. They look down the alleyway. They see that there's a fire. They put two and two together very quickly. And they turn and they start chasing this man, saying, "Hey, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do?" All of this commotion in the alleyway draws the attention of the blacksmith. It is the blacksmith's building that is currently on fire. He opens this back door and he sees the fire. And he quickly shuts the door and he runs out his front door towards the well keeper. When it feels appropriate for you, let's pull ourselves forward to hands and knees, tabletop. We'll extend our legs straight out in front of us for a little staff. And from staff, let's think about using this anterior hip crease space, tilt our torso forward and find our way into a seated forward fold. As the well keeper, or as the blacksmith is running towards the well keeper, this couple walks by. They're coming back from a little brunch. And they look down the alleyway and they see a pretty decent sized fire. The woman says, "Should we do something?" And the man says, "Oh no, that's the blacksmith's shop. He's the strongest guy in the whole community. He'll deal with it." And they keep walking. Make sure you're not losing all of that shoulder work we've done. Right, we went from shoulders to hips, and we went kind of like exclusive shoulders and then exclusive hips. But make sure that the shoulder width is staying with you in this forward fold. We're going to give ourselves another 90 seconds here, so a good long duration forward fold to take in all the work we've done. The blacksmith gets to the well keeper and he immediately starts screaming at him, "My building's on fire, my building's on fire." And the well keeper kind of looks back at him like, "Okay." And And this infuriates the blacksmith. He goes from shouting to screaming. Big full inhale here. Nice deep exhale, releasing and finding any last available space in this fold. When you've found everything available to you, let's bring our body back into staff. And from staff, we'll just lower ourselves back onto our spine the way we started practice. Just let your body adapt to the mat beneath you. And so the well keeper is just kind of looking back at the blacksmith, and the blacksmith is just screaming his head off, saying, "Do something, my building's on fire." And the well keeper kind of puts his hands up and he's like, "I watched the well. And the two of them start to escalate the tension. And the well keeper starts screaming back. And this argument is like quickly escalating from verbal to physical confrontation. With your next inhale, let's bring our knees into a bent position if they're not already. And then we are going to pull the thighs in towards the torso, let the hands come to the hamstrings or the shins, and give a nice little squeeze here. And then we're going to do a little side to side. Maybe one more time in each direction. And then we'll release the feet back to the mat. Pull your right thigh in and see if it's possible to take the hand to the lateral edge, pinky toe edge of your right foot. If it is, grab there. If not, maybe the ankle or the calf is a more appropriate place. Or you can be on the hamstring. But little half happy baby here. Think about the bottom of the right foot pointing towards the ceiling or sky, wherever your right hand ends up being. And think about how that's impacting your lumbar spine. And then let's release the right foot. And we'll take this over to the second side, the left side. So left foot comes up and left hand either to the lateral edge, pinky toe edge of the foot, or maybe you're on the shin or the hamstring, the ankle, somewhere where you can get the bottom of the foot to point towards the ceiling or sky. And just thinking about how adjusting this kind of leg structure, femur position is impacting the lumbar spine. And then let's release the left foot when you feel balanced. Maybe give yourself a little lateral sway, a little hip integration. Eventually, the knees are going to come back to neutral. We're going to see if the body is responsive to a full happy baby. So bottoms of the feet pointed towards the ceiling, knees kind of coming towards the torso. Maybe the hands come towards the lateral edge of the feet. Maybe they're on the ankles. Maybe they're on the hamstrings. But just getting a little bit of lumbar, spine, hip integration here. And maybe we rock this a little side to side. Eventually, we're gonna let the spine come to neutral, let the feet come back to the mat, and just one more exploration of knee rotation here, letting the lumbar just receive some final twists, final movements. And maybe one more time in each direction. And then we'll bring our knees back to neutral. And we'll ask ourselves if there's anything that our body needs, if there's anything that our body wants, if there's anything that our body could benefit from prior to finding a shape for Shavasana. And if there is, we'll offer that to ourselves now. If we have everything we need, if we're ready for some stillness, if we're ready for some silence, let's drift our way into our version of Shavasana this evening. So a little crowd starts to gather around these two big men arguing in front of the well. And they start to push each other a little bit, and the crowd starts to get even more intense around them. Meanwhile, back in town, this little barefoot girl is walking past the alleyway when she sees that the blacksmith's shop is on fire. She runs straight to the well, pushes through the crowd, grabs a bucket, fills it in the well, and runs back to the blacksmith shop. While she's running back, water is splashing everywhere. And she gets back, and there's maybe a third of the bucket full of water. Doesn't matter what she has, she throws onto the fire. And then she runs back to the well, scoops water, runs back to the fire, tosses it on, runs back, and she's pushing through the crowd each time, just almost unnoticed. Just finding your version of stillness here. many trips. This young barefoot girl puts this fire out. And people of the town kind of recognize that she's put this fire out. And the mayor wants to have a little ceremony in her honor, or in honor of her bravery. And so he gives this great speech about bravery, and he calls her up. He asks if she wants to say anything. And she steps out onto the stage in front of all these people of this town. I didn't do anything that was brave. I just didn't wait for someone else to do something. We'll start to bring some movement into our fingers and our toes. Into our wrists and our ankles. Up to our elbows and our knees. Shoulders and hips. So you can find some extra room in your shoulders and hips to move. And then head, neck, jaw, eyes, tongue. Whole body starts to move and explore the space around you. Eventually, we'll bring enough movement into our body that we can transition our way into a seat. And in this seated space, spine gets tall, breath gets fluid, eyes closed. Just feel into a little respiration here. So next inhale, let's bring our hands together at heart center. Over the course of the next 7 days, can you remind yourself that the cleanest way to define responsibility is the response of the willing, and see how that impacts your experience. Thank you so much for being a part of this evening's practice and for being you. Namaste. Happy Monday, guys. Appreciate the heck out of you being here. Thanks for taking care of yourselves. I'll be back on Sunday to recharge. I hope you have a beautiful week, and I hope I see you then. Bye.